Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
One, I talked to a friend this morning about this issue in this meeting, and she said, well, for one thing, Moscow is likely to become more like Pullman, and if we do all these through streets, because, you know, Pullman doesn't have that kind of peaceful corridor center, and I wondered how effective an argument that is for our political people. You know, is that worth a card worth playing, or is it kind of beside the point? The second
So
question.
how about we answer
Okay.
my
All right.
opinion on the first one. So for those who may not have heard, Marianne was saying she spoke to a friend this morning who said, oh, if this becomes a through route for motorized traffic, it will become more, Moscow will become more like Pullman. That is, fewer of these quiet neighborhood sectors. And she was wondering if that's a card worth playing. I would say probably not. I think Moscow and Pullman want to try their very best to get along and not throw darts at each other. And I also think, you know, the topography is very different too. Pullman may have some other reasons that it doesn't have the intimacy right around the downtown, or that sort of thing. Your charge.
I just say, I think you can say it by saying, so many people choose to live in Moscow because we have the livability in the neighborhoods. You don't have to say they don't live in Pullman. They can figure that out.
Yeah, so Joanne puts the positive
Put
spin
it
on
in
it, saying it's a positive in Moscow that we have that. So
It
what's your,
is.
yes, I agree.
So the second thing is, she said you also need, rather than whining, you need to come up with solutions and, you know, what can they do? And I assume that you all have been dealing with that all along, and where is a good place for me to educate myself on what these alternate options are? And, or should we be making additional suggestions of what I mean, if there are X amount of people living across Mountain View who've got to move around, you know, how do we move them around? Is there a better solution than there, or do we need to worry about that? I don't know.
So Marianne's second question has to do with alternatives. Shall we, as advocates for non-motorized connectivity at this location, propose other solutions for moving motorized traffic through? And I think it's reasonable to point out which streets already accommodate that traffic.
Which are 6, then 8.
D goes through.
B Street.
B, yeah. Which may not appeal to all the neighbors in those
Some of
those
people are
parts
already
of town.
angry that we don't share their
There,
burden.
and that's the other piece, is to really be cautious about not alienating neighbors from neighbors. If there is a neighborhood association related to this project, I would definitely try to bring people in, because even though people may not live on the 3rd Street corridor, they may have children or grandchildren who attend Lena. They may have seniors who go to the friendship, the senior programs or something like that. So we have another, Marianne has another question, but we have one over here, Frank. Pat?
Well, Nancy, when you were saying, you know, maybe have them meet, I wouldn't meet here, because right here, you look and you see the width over there and you see the width over here, and on an engineering thing, we'll put a bridge in. I think what we need to do is have the meeting at Lena Whitmore as the students are going across, and as parents that have gotten their children through Lena and now the high school, try getting through at the high school. Somebody had mentioned about high school kids. They do not even look. They don't look to their left or their right. They just cross. And, you know, the Moscow police would not be stationing police officers at both these locations every morning if they did not think it was a concern at the present road condition it is right now.
Okay, yeah.
Frank, I have to leave at 5 o'clock, which is momentarily. But I hope that most of you will join Frank and me again at the City Council meeting in the public comment period to ask one more time to have the council schedule this as a discussion item with the idea of removing the 3rd Street Bridge, vehicular bridge idea from this present grant, and advising the Department of Transportation of their desire to take that $1 million plus part of the grant out. And if the council is unwilling to do that, then it's time for us as a group to send a note to the Department of Transportation and say, look, we have a problem here, and outline what the problem is. So come to the council meeting tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, 2nd floor, City Hall.
Hey, Frank,
Yeah.
just a couple things to add before you leave, Linda. So I'm ready to be part of this group and throw my weight into it. I just want to.
We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Come around.
Sorry.
Come on over here.
You're too far away. I'm Nels Reese, for those of you who don't know. I live on 3rd Street, 3rd and Hayes. I just want to let people know that 6,000 cars a day go by my house. At least, but that's, so one of the things that we need to do is get a larger group of people involved in this. I love it that Nancy's here, that Linda's here, that anybody that doesn't live on 3rd Street are better speakers in a way because they can't throw the NIMBY thing at us. But what I just want to remind you is that on that side of the town are 17,000 cars aiming toward town, and they'll come if we open this street up. Just a couple of things I want to mention that haven't been talked about. First place, the historic district in Moscow has been amplified. The Fort Russell district now comes up to 3rd Street. So it's from 3rd, it's from the
D Street.
church all the way to Hayes, including 3rd, including East City Park. So now we have more historic buildings on the street. And I will say to you that we should get Wendy McClure, who's the chair of historic preservation, involved with this, because she doesn't live on 3rd Street, and she's much concerned. As we looked at the whole part of the core of town, we looked at everything from 6th to D, and that's a whole kind of a community in itself. And we didn't include the part from 3rd Street over to 6th. It was just going to be more, the fancy houses of the 1880s aren't there, and so we didn't do that. Nevertheless, there are beautiful homes in that side of the street that we can certainly lean on. I think we need to have a very positive view of making this, in other words, where can we have pedestrian-friendly places? Well, Main Street is the most pedestrian-friendly. 6th Street is very pedestrian, not so friendly. 3rd Street could be our 3rd Street that is actually a very pedestrian-friendly street in the complete sense of the word, though 35 miles an hour is absolutely unacceptable. I must say to you that we really just can't have that. So what we need is this positive view. More people need to think about making this a special street because of the park, because of Lena Whitten, because of the high school, because of the historic properties on the street, because it's not so steep that bicyclers and walkers can use that street. And we need to talk about that more than just say we can't possibly have a bridge here. And like Nancy said, I'm a connectivity guy too. I would vote for connectivity 9 times out of 10 if I didn't have 17,000 cars staring at me on the other side of town. Nils Peterson is somebody else that I know is special on this. I think I'm very supportive, Linda, of having a subcommittee to reorganize our official group. I don't care whether I'm willing to serve on that. So I don't care whether we call it, we should have discussion, a quiet discussion over a couple of glasses of wine about what it should, the name.
Well, anything you want to change, and if you want new directors, which I think you
Sorry,
should,
I'm not talking to you guys.
Tom Ivy is gone. I know my husband has health issues. He doesn't want to do it, and I don't either. And so that's, we would love to hand it over to somebody else. But so if you can come up with at least 3 names that would be willing to be the directors, let us know. And I've gotten hold of Tom Ivy, and he's standing by, so to speak. But somebody would have to be willing to take over the legalities of filing all the reports and so forth. But
Well, Linda, right now you got 2,
okay, and
Nels and me.
and the
And if anybody
anything
else,
as far as changing things, it does cost a fee every time you do anything because you have to go through that.
I just
It's
want to
only
leave
30
you with
bucks.
one thing. I have a friend that, he's not really a friend, he's somebody I met, David Engwich, he's from Australia, and he wrote a book called Street Reclaiming. And I'm just going to read you this. I know this is over optimistic, but listen. He says, imagine your street with 50% less traffic. Imagine cars acting as guests on your street. Imagine your street now transformed into an outdoor living room. We know about this on Main Street. When I was a kid 50 years ago, Main Street was not a friendly street. We've made it into a friendly street. So we have an example on Saturdays of just how wonderful that can be. Imagine your street now transformed into an outdoor living room, children playing, neighbors chatting. On my street, if I want to talk to my neighbor, I have to get a bullhorn. Because with 5,000 cars going by, you know what it sounds like. And so he says, dream no longer, come join the party, and let's be positive about this. See you Monday night.
okay,
May I just finish up?
Please.
Yeah. So Mary Ann was going to propose 3 questions. She got to 2, and I haven't responded. The second one about taking a positive approach to this. Let's not alienate ourselves as advocates from those people who have signed those letters of support for this Tiger 8 grant. It's a school district, it's Disability Action Center, it's elected officials in different capacities, but let's demonstrate how this is so different from all these other reasons they supported this so-called recreation corridor here. If we want people of all ages to take human power to get from someplace over here out to this recreation corridor, why in the world would we make them have to drive, I mean, it's proposed to be a
Identified this.
Paradise Path Task Force is another ally and all of that. So yes, I like your idea of a positive approach. I think that's good. And if I may, your 3rd question, if you remember
Well,
it.
actually, it's been answered.
Okay, good.
I was wondering what our main purpose here ought to be. It's been a kind of random discussion, but Linda and my brother and you, and I think I'm clear now, kind of at least what next